All right. Papa Bear Gaming here. I wanted to kind of look at SkyForge in 2020. Now, this is one of those games that's kind of underrated and it has a lot of naysayers because it does have some almost pay to win kind of features here. So I just wanted to introduce this game and kind of give you a how to get started. This is what you need to know and jump right into SkyForge. So let me just show one thing right here. All right, so once you start SkyForge, you're gonna start out pretty much, following this little what everyone in the game calls the golden road. So you're gonna have to go through these various areas here, and you're gonna do the story. It has a bunch of cutscenes, and it's actually not bad, right? You're gonna start out with three choices. You're gonna have to pick between a paladin, basically a tank, a light bringer. So you got your paladin here. Is your tank class. Now, all of the classes in the game can do damage, so it's not like if you're a tank, you can't do any damage. Um, the Lightbringer, right? That's in theory your healer, your buffer. But again, every class can do some form of healing, defense, as well as damage. And then your straight DPS guy, Mr. Cryomancer. My recommendation for anyone that's just getting right into Skyforge is to actually start with the Paladin. The main reason is because as you chug through the initial kind of providences, and by the time you make it to the last providence where you'll be going against the boss on his skyship here, the difficulty is going to scale up a lot. And unless you want to do a little extra farming on the side just to get enough gear to, raise your rank or your level to be able to fight the boss, the paladin is the only one that will make it easy enough for you to do it.
Updates downloaded. Rebooting the system.
But
Please
before we
wait.
really jump into all of that, right, there's a couple things I want to just point out, and I wish someone had told me when I was starting the game. There are a lot of videos online, but most of them haven't been updated in a while, so there's a lot of missing content there, right? Key things to note. You start the game out, um, all of these available options here won't be visible. I think let me drop the sound a little bit more. Okay, that's better. All right, so there's going to be a lot of things that's going to be missing. Um, when you start out, all you'll have available to you is the Divine Observatory. Key thing to note here, this is the place you're going to go if you want to meet people and form groups, because everyone sits here. Now, while um, later on you'll have the option to join a Pantheon, and you should do that as quickly as possible, this is still one of the best places you want to get to find a group. So as you see there, someone put a plus sign and Hespe. That's just to note that they're looking to do that group dungeon Hespe. But before we jump into any of that, let's look at all the options that are available to you right now. A lot of these are not clearly explained as the game gets going, right? Um, before so let's go back here, right? So this is of course the equipment screen, lots of items you could get. um P versus P gives you time gated items as well, so you could get a legendary item, but it goes away in a couple days. The current generation on PC is the 26th, so that's kind of the items you want to get. All right, then another quick thing to note here, the main thing that you'll be chugging along to increase is might and related to your main rank. So as you see here, I have two scores, my main rank and my bonus rank. Main rank is your solo strength all by yourself, right? Bonus rank is related to um, the Invasion Atlas, which changes all the time depending on which invasion it is. We'll go into that later. But key things to note, for all of the end game content, the only thing that matters is main rank. Bonus rank goes away after a certain amount of time when the next invasion starts. So you want to always push towards your main rank, right? Uh, these little stars here tell you what's an important stat for your current class. So, for example, I want to raise my critical chance, armor fracture, and main damage bonus as much as possible to really level up my character. As you're chugging along, when you're stuck with like trying to raise your rank, the key thing you should focus on is actually having the right stats. So, for example, two people with 40 rank, for example, in the very beginning, will do completely different amount of damage, even if they have the same class, based on the stats they pick. So, see, this is actually a horrible item for this character, the fire spitter, right? Simply because I shouldn't be focusing on any control effects. What I should be have on this item is more damage because that's what I do. I'm damaged, so you don't want to waste stats like on something that doesn't do damage. So you see here, companion damage. I don't care about that. I am the main damage dealer. So there's a lot of work that I could do on this character right now, but yeah, the new invasion started and I haven't had a chance to upgrade it. There's a lot of items that drop in the game, a lot of things you're gonna have to store and keep in the very beginning. Valuables. So Audience, this is one of the in-game credits that you could use to buy items. Uh, Advice for beginning players: don't spend anything you have early on. You want to just collect, collect, collect. Don't use it on any of the gear for upgrading for anything in the very beginning of the game. Credits end up being one of the most important things you're going to have to farm constantly later on. Victory medals is another thing that you could get
Analyzing
to
system components.
spend in the in-game
Efficiency
store along with
100%.
Audience to buy things. These rare crystals, they're all over the various maps, and you use them to buy costumes and whatnot. These drop off of boss kills, and you have to get them later on. Again, I mentioned the Invasion Atlas. You're gonna have to chug through each one of these every time an invasion starts, and each node gives you superiority or basically the bonus rank related things, and then it gives you buffs that help you do certain things. Like specific buffs are really important for certain boss engagements, so that's like a end game thing you want to look at. Another key thing to note here under your abilities: as you level up, your abilities will fill in and you'll be able to get the various skills. Some of these skills actually require you to go to certain maps and complete special quests for it. The game really does not explain that to you, so just know as you chug along and you see some things, they're locked and you'll wonder why there's no quest to get them, but you can't get them. That's because it's on one of the kind of towards the end of your leveling. You'll go to some of the different planets like Terra, and you'll have to investigate how to get those. And then PvP in this game is one of my favorite things. Some of the skills change just a little bit for PvP, but it is not balanced in the slightest. Then there's symbols. Symbols come out of bastions. We'll talk about them shortly, but you want to always stack them up, get as many symbols as you can, and then choose the ones that make the most sense for you or the ones that match the build you want to make. These companion abilities are kind of things you do once you have too much time and money on your hands. This, however, is something that you want to do only after you have your adepts or your god mode. So in the beginning of the game, you don't have to worry about any of these settings here, honestly. And then, of course, styles. This is where you can make yourself as pretty as you want. All right, so that's kind of the first window here. Most of these windows will not be available to you when you start out the game, and they're going to ease their way in. But the key things you want to pay attention to when you start the game. After your first couple goes in the province here, my recommendation for anyone starting this game, and the main reason I think people drop out of this game, is this initial golden road. Don't waste any time doing anything off of the golden road, right? Your goal is to get through this path as quickly as possible. When you get to some of these bastions, If possible, you want to do the items in the quest list, so you could just hit the quest list up and see if the things that are in the quest list just happen to align with what you're doing on the golden road. But for the most part, every time you clear an entire golden road, you'll get a chest with brand new equipment that will jump you to a good ranking that makes the next golden road easier. All right, and you're gonna just keep going through each of them. Don't do any of the side missions. Don't waste any time. Now, you may notice some of these things like the Grove Walker here. This is a class that you can upgrade to. There's a couple things to note here. Sparks. You are provided sparks by just playing. If you By the time you clear the golden road and you become a god, you will have enough sparks to unlock a 25,000 or so class. Those classes are not the premium classes. They're not the latest classes. They're one of the original ones. They're like something like 12 or 16 classes. I can't remember the number. And of
Requesting
course, if you
updated
want to spend
instructions.
money, you'll be able to
Please
spend it
refrain
by
from
using
removing it until the
Argents to
operation is
buy your
complete.
class. But don't spend any of your sparks on till you could have enough to either get a Grove Walker. I think they're 32,000 sparks. You want to get one of these four classes as your very first pick outside of either the Paladin, the Lightbringer, or the Chiromancer. Either a Grove Walker, a Revenant, a Soundweave, or a Firestarter. The Grove Walker is a version of a tank, very good tank. It has a lot of healing. It has a lot of damage. Um, the Firestarter is all damage. That's the premium damage class in this particular latest patches. The Soundweaver is actually my favorite class and the one I play the most. Is a support class, but it has the capability to do a ton of damage. And in fact, I do more damage on my Soundweaver than on my Firestarter. Um, and then what was the other one I mentioned? Grove. Oh, the Revenant. Revenant is also similar to a tank and a DPS kind of build. It's really slow moving and it's kind of interesting and fun, but it can be difficult to kind of like progress when compared to, say, for example, the Soundweaver. The Soundweaver allows you to, um, with later skills, stun people from across the map and bunch them up, and then allow you to do a bunch of damage to a bunch of people that are stunned and in a nice tight ball. It kind of plays like if Guitar Hero, but it's actually quite fun. Um, Back to this anyway. You want to go through all of these, just keep chugging along. Right around this province, I started to run into some problems where my rank wasn't keeping up with the difficulty of the missions. So right about, yeah, when I started to do this one, the rank required in the beginning was like maybe 45, but I was at 40. So everything hit a little harder. They didn't take as much damage, and it really started to make me struggle. But at that point, that's when by then you should be introduced to this screen right here. You want to press K to get here. Squad missions, regions, groups, battles, all these various things. Not all of them will be available to you in the beginning. In fact, I think only squads and regions will be available. Regions are the easy ones to do that will allow you to clear out content and get good gear that matches the level you're at. Another important thing to note is these little things here. There's a catch up mechanic in the game that will try to get you close to the end game content faster. So when you see icons like this where it has, it says, will it give you a certain amount of followers or will level up your stronghold and the various other components I'll show you shortly. You want to do those or focus on those things in particular. Every day you'll get kind of like powered up activities you could join. So for example, if I wanted to do this, I could do it, right now as a warm up. It's lower level, it's easier, or I could do it at this level here, but it requires a main rank of 307, so I'm not actually available for it on this chat. But every day you want to come in here. As soon as you log in, press K, see what region is giving away a bonus, and just go right there. Don't, that's the first thing you want to do. Go to that region, and that's of course assuming that you've either finished the golden path, or you're stuck and you need to find like a region that will help you move towards um, getting more ranks so you could continue. A couple of the regions have these cutscenes that won't go away no matter what I do.
Mission.
So you'll have this happens to be one of them. But yeah, in this region here, this is also one of those places where you'll get quests that will give you new skills, but the game doesn't really tell you that. It doesn't make it obvious. All right, so let's jump back over here. All right. So while you're chugging along on your various provinces, the buildings within the capital will unlock. Key thing to note, the Tower of Knowledge. You want to spend your research. It's going to be different amounts of research when you start off, and then it goes up to 5,000. But you spend your research, level up your Tower of Knowledge, and it gives you might. These are the primary ways, other than gear, to increase your might so that you could do harder content. Your cathedral, every time you click in, it'll give you something. I actually recommend not leveling up anything in your cathedral until much later in the game, right? Because it's very difficult later to, squeeze out the money to level this up. So save your money, save everything, don't spend anything. Temple of Deeds. Um, this is how you actually become an elder god, so it's not something you have to worry about in the very beginning. Just know that if you save up everything until you have like 200 or so rank, my recommendation is to go to the Hall of Travelers. If you saved up all of your victory medals and the various things that you've gotten just from playing, you should be right at the cusp of 8,000. 8,000 unlocks the Hall of Travels. The very first node makes life so much easier for doing solo content. Unfortunately, while I love this game, it does not have enough people for you to constantly get into groups and just constantly launch into the group finder. The group finder is total trash, and you'll spend a lot of time, if you put yourself in a group finder, and you'll be in there for an hour and you will not get a group unless it's happy hour. And that's a key thing to note. Depending on your region, there are 3 happy hour times really where you'll get bonuses for doing P versus P. So you want to always play P versus P during those happy hours. But if you're able to get, like, if you just look at the first couple nodes here, right? When you're alone, your divine form or your god mode will last longer and you'll do more damage. That's basically what some of these settings do here. And it also, by this point, it reduces the cost. So that's a very key thing to note. As a god, it costs faith to turn into a god. Faith is only actually collected by your little minions here. So these little minions go out and they get you fate. You see, and it takes more than 12 hours for them to fully spend their whole time out there getting you fate. So fate is one of those difficult things you're going to have to collect and save. So you want to take your time and use the fate wisely by maxing out the Hall of Travels first. uh, I could go use my god form for as low as 63 fate versus it's like 200 fate when you start out.
Analyzing system
So I'm able
components.
to do three
Efficiency
more
100%.
missions than a person who doesn't max this out. Just, gentle hint and reminder. All the various other bonuses in here all use these divine deeds here at the bottom, and you get them from missions, from, the various things that you do as you play the game. Stronghold, another way to max out your might and get bonuses. After you've unlocked um, the Hall of Travels, then you can spend points on these items here, if you victory medals on these things here if you want. It starts out low, but then it grows. I would recommend not doing anything within the hall, this hall of trophies. In the beginning of the game, it's completely pointless to spend any efforts in here. There's better ways to spend your victory medals on the very instead of putting them in here. Distortions you won't see till much later, but these are basically end game content. They're not easy to complete, and most people can't complete them. Um, One of the ways the game kind of eases or presents end game content is through kind of time gating stuff. So the invasion starts, and let me jump right here. The invasion starts, and week one just started. So the only content you could really do right now, end game, other than nightmare mode, is pretty much this content right now. As the time goes by, other content comes becomes unlocked, and different items drop from the various bosses until finally, you know, you're towards the end game. You find the avatar, which is a very important thing, and then by week 8, it's the end boss, the final person you want to fight. So it kind of lays it out in a nice way that makes it obvious what's coming, what you have to do, and what you have to prepare for. All right, so where were you? Oh, you're back in capital. So that's kind of the key thing you want to note here in the capital. Um, this Hall of Elders, this is end game stuff you have to work on. Um, Not anything you need to worry about in the beginning, and I wouldn't even don't even think about it, honestly. Right here, even at when the game starts and these windows become available to you, they're all going to be too difficult to solo. You're going to have to do them as a group unless you put a lot of time into that hall of travel. Uh, it's going to scale you to like 290. So like at the very beginning, you'll be rank 40. If you pick squad and you go into it, you're gonna get smashed and not understand why. Even though the game scaled you, the content is just it's scaled you under the difficulty of the content alone. So if you do want to do it, you need to do it with other people to really be able to progress. Region is the one thing that you won't have to worry about. The Each region has a certain rank, and as long as you're within that rank, you'll be fine. You could go to regions with higher rank, it's just much harder, and be prepared to struggle. Group, like I said, you need groups. Battles, key thing to note, during happy hours, you're gonna get these legendary containers. That is one of, as you note here, the third option and the fourth option says epic jewelry or stone of power, right?
Requesting
This is
updated
the
instructions.
only way or the
Please refrain
easiest
from
way to
rebooting me
get
until the operation is
um,
complete.
the current or most of or the highest available generation of an item. That's it. So if you want to do this, this is the only way to get the highest currently available item in a generation. The other ways is to do that distortions and the very high end content that way. Invasions, it's all tied to the current invasion, so you're going to get resources for the invasion. And then of course trials give you, high end game content as well. Yeah, I won't be able to do that this time around. Another quick thing to note here is one way to tell what time happy hour is in your region if you haven't been able to figure it out through, Reddit, the internet, people online, is to simply hit K, hit battles, and then look here. When it's happy hour, there will be a timer on one of these four activities here. These four are all the P versus P related activities. So massive battles is 10 versus 10. This research facility is like a capture the flag. Small battles is 3 versus 3. And then Battle of the Golems, it's like a MOBA, but you're playing a MOBA. You're not playing a MOBA, from the top down looking. It's SkyForge where you have golems that are fighting other towers and such. So this is a key thing to note there, right? Invasions is the same thing. You could directly select the key invasion related missions. So it allows you to also select what type of rewards you want. So say you need more marks of justice, you could go pick the matches that will give you that specific reward. A lot of these things, the marks are used for upgrading gear, so it's more like an end game when you're trying to move or advance that way. In the directives tab, if you want to specifically do a mission or look for specific types of gear, that's how you could come here, select the the type of mission you want to do, look for the gear you're looking for, and do that mission so that you could get what you want. You could kind of select out exactly what you need so you could upgrade your character. But all right, continuing along this little checkboxes here. Now there's quests. The quests, they're pretty straightforward. There's not much to them. You're just gonna follow the quest, the beginning storyline. It's called weapon tutorial or something like that. But all it is basically clearing this golden road as quickly as possible, getting to this Thanos ship, and then fighting the god for his power, so you could take his power. This last map here, nothing to do in the beginning of the game. This is really end game stuff you want to look at. In the beginning, you want to basically waste no time here, just focus on that golden road. And then, of course, there's a story, it'll walk you through the story. All right, so next is the group related stuff. And as I mentioned before, you want to join a Pantheon as quickly as possible. I've already joined one, so it won't actually show you anything here. But when you click on Y and you come into this section, it will show you various Pantheons. The Pantheons are basically guilds. You want to join one as quickly as possible, one that has a lot of people and is active, so there'll be people to work with and talk to and as you level up. Battle history just shows you stats on what you're doing and how much damage you do.
Heartbeat detected. Type of
Um,
creature. Immortal.
Operations.
Identity
As you
not
do the
recognized.
various items here, you get points towards operations. So this is kind of not a beginning level thing, so you really don't have to worry about operations. But ideally, as you start chugging along, you want to get operations because you get rewarded depending on where you place in the operation, right? So you get a lot of benefits from actually participating in operations.
Probability of
Test
defeating was
areas,
low.
skip it in the beginning because
Initiating
it's
surprise
completely
enjoy mode.
unnecessary. PvP, you get ranked. So if you start to like it, you'll get ranked. All right, and this is Pantheon related information. So this is I made a mistake previously. This is where you should actually see the Pantheon related information. So Y will probably not have anything other than region and recently and maybe notified in the beginning. But then after you join a Pantheon by pressing O, then you could actually participate and get some help from other people. N is the store. So they have a couple offers, um, and unfortunately, it is possible to directly buy legendaries in the game. So you can jump in immediately, get yourself a couple legendaries. Sometimes they're random. Um, this is just a cosmetic. Sometimes they're random what legendaries are there, and it kind of loot boxes it. Yeah. So for example, this here, you could just directly buy this. Um, so yeah, there's that. Uh, Various tokens actually require in-game work, but then you actually can just straight up buy them. Costumes, there are costumes and other things to note, but yeah, it is possible to buy items. They vary the various sales and the various items you could buy. So sometimes you can just wait for a sale of exactly what you want. If you get this game on Steam, you'll get an outlaw class. So there is a benefit to that. And there have been some sales that were really cheap, like $5 to $10, and you could get a bunch of classes and a bunch of different things. Premium rank is also available. So, and as you play the game, you get a bunch of these various things like more premium rank and so on, so you could continue to level up. And just by playing the game, and if you play it for long enough, you will actually end up maxing out like your premium rank and all of that. And I'm at 22 days of premium. I haven't purchased any premium. This is just straight through. Um, right in here, when you press K, sometimes premium rank comes up in here as well. And as you play the game out, you'll see it. While you play, sometimes events happen by pressing 9. And as you see, as you do the various events, you get points to progress. This isn't the greatest event because the rewards are kind of trash. And you see the first reward was premium for 7 days just by basically spending, what is it here, 5,000 credits and putting the guy on a journey. If you want to spend your victory medals, I say you do not do this. You do not spend victory medals. What you spend is these intelligent data, and you do that just by pressing K and actually participating in that. The add-ups you won't see in the beginning, so don't even worry about them. But they basically are little minions that go out and do things for you. You could give them relics. Sometimes you get better relics
Insufficient
from
memory
them,
space.
and other times you
Archiving
don't.
data.
This is also not really necessary piece of information. All right, so, and then another thing that I wish someone had told me earlier is the challenges. Every season, there's rewards and a season subscription. If you like the game, get the subscription. It has a lot of benefits. And if you want to spend money, get the subscription. It has benefits. You could chug along and get all these various rewards that really help out. And these deeds, they tell you what you have to do to accomplish them. One way to kind of push yourself forward is to complete the deeds, exploits, and feats for the rewards. So, for example, this chest here will give you a lot of marks. That's kind of blah. This season's rewards are kind of meh. This was a pretty good one if you had the season subscription. 3 of these to get yourself mythical accessories. Yeah, this season wasn't that great. The last season had a lot of rewards that I really wanted. No, so these start to get better when you get into the higher numbers here, and it really starts to get better in this one. Oh yeah, this one looks nice, but yeah, these are nice. All right, so that's that, and then there's this one on each of these three planets here. Oh, they call it, they're not planets, but you could get these pioneer rewards. These are pretty good little rewards for just doing what you're doing anyway. So, and every 2 hours it kind of refreshes. So when you get to planets and you bang out the activities, you can get rewarded for it. So in summary, this is Sky Zone, how to jump into it right now and kind of like push your levels up. Key thing to note, follow the golden road, right? Don't spend any money on any upgrading or anything until after you get your god mode and you're like maybe rank 200 or so. The moment you get your god mode, you want to join um, in on either a squad or group adventure, or maybe invasions or trials if you're in a pantheon and they could carry you along. This will get you items, you know, much higher up level right away and get you going. Also, as a new player, you should get notifications and you should get a bunch of different items every day for logging in. So log in, get your items, do some content, and have fun. It's actually a pretty good game. It does have some issues with the whole, you know, you could buy legendaries and buy different items, but it is right now, as far as MMOs go, this is one of those underrated gems that tons of stuff you could do and have lots of fun. Um, I'm gonna just end this by showing you um, what I mentioned before about the various classes. As you see here, these are all the classes that I currently have activated. I'm gonna put on my favorite one. This
Movement
mount I got
efficiency
here all
increased.
came for free. So there's a lot of free things you could get in the various events and activities in the game. And look at the scenery. This is pretty decent scenery. I'm gonna just go to an event that's happening right now just to kind of show you how it all plays out. Use some abilities just so you see. This is a very pretty and active. It's a game that requires you to be active. You can't just, sit around. As a sound weaver, I literally play a guitar. I drop these ampliphones on people. And I have different abilities. Some knock people back, some help out anyone around me by getting their super. And then, let me make sure. Alright. I'm gonna pop my ultimate just to show you what I meant about the Guitar Hero kind of vibe to the game. It's pretty straightforward. There's nothing too overly complicated about like the various champs. And then pop my ultimate here. And you can see there's a lot of action happening. But one of the key things that kind of separate the good players from the bad players is how the rotations, like Soundweaver's rotation is pretty straightforward. The key thing I want to do as a Soundweaver is to alternate between my various songs. So right now I'm using the high damage song. Well, I should say my left click song, right? But as you see, it turns blue. Now I want to use the right click song, and now it's going back to the left click song. I'm using the amplifiers or the buffs I'm using right now is the number 3 or the one that kind of defends. But what I want to do, oof, and I was not paying attention. Someone was kicking my butt just now. Let me not die. Oh, I did die. But what I want to do is, based on my buffs and my abilities, I want to alternate my abilities. And whenever I can, whenever I alternate ability, I want to then switch to another one, which gives me a buff to my damage. When that buff runs out, and you see I have 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3, 2, 1, then I want to switch to another ability to keep that buff up as long as possible. And in doing that, that's how I go between, I maximize my damage, and at the same time I buff my teammates, right? And I keep my energy levels high. Like if I don't do this and you actually like keep using the same ability, you use more energy and you don't get the amount of uptime that you want to get for your buffs. And there you go. And that was a nice little public event. And the better you are at your rotation is the more damage you do, the faster your abilities come up, and just the better everything plays out. Well, there you go. That is SkyForge in a nutshell. Oh, and you see this other event happening over here. I'll just give this guy a helping hand. But hopefully this helped kind of get you into SkyForge in 2020. Another thing to note is there's another guy that does a lot of these videos. He has a long series of them. His name's Crazy Pickle. That's who kind of introduced me to this game and got me started. But most of his videos, unfortunately, are no longer like fully relevant for some of the content anyway. So you might have to just wait for him to come out with some new stuff. But in the meantime, this is Papa Bear Gaming. Just like to say, have fun, game while COVID-19 is going on. Stay home and game. All right, signing out.